You're listening to the Luxe Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should be living their best life, their Luxe Life. The show is hosted by Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group, a premier national event planning company, and co-hosted by Shannon Richmond, the Vice President of the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications of future episodes. The show is produced by 30A Media and is broadcast on your favorite podcast outlets, as well as YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TVs, and other major brand smart TVs.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group. Welcome back to Luxe Life Discovered. My co-host today is Shannon Richmond with the Panama City Beach Chamber. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
Good. And our guest today is Matthew Miller with Matthew Miller Art. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, good. So you're not too far. You're over in Tallahassee, so we're glad that you could join us remotely. But we look forward to seeing you Sunday. Of course, when this airs, the bridal show will be over, but we look forward to meeting you on Sunday and you being a part of that. So,
absolutely. Likewise.
So tell me about your background, how you became interested in painting and doing the live painting and all of that.
You know, what's a funny story? I tell people that I got into painting, that I was self-medicating with art therapy, and I ended up getting addicted, and so that's how I became an artist. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of explaining it, but it started out as a hobby, and what I discovered as I was doing it is it made me feel great. You know, like when I'm painting, it kind of puts my brain in just like a different world.
Right.
You know, you can escape all the chaos and the stress of daily life, and you can just kind of occupy a more peaceful state of mind. And so I got kind of hooked on it. And then eventually I was living in Denver, Colorado, and I kind of stumbled upon live painting. So if you go to a city like Denver, you know, you go out to a nightclub, like maybe some of these like little hippie concert venues, you might see a live painter. There's a lot of artists. There's a big live art scene there. So I got really into that for a while. Eventually what I started doing was I would go out to like live music shows and I would paint a band. Hey, I'm going to paint that next band live during their set, you know? And so it was a thrill. It really is. It is such a thrill you're at a nightclub. It's dark. I have to use like a headlamp to see what I'm even doing. It's crowded. There's people watching, and oh man, that band's going to play for 45 minutes. I got to paint a picture of them like super fast. It's got to be the funnest thing I've ever done in my life, I have to tell you.
Wow.
And so for me, the trick from there is, okay, I love doing this, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So how do I figure out, how do I make a career out of this, you know? And eventually I discovered that there are people who do live art professionally. Some of them do go to live music events and sporting events, and they do it. And then there's also weddings, which weddings isn't something that I got into until 2020, later in that year, because a lot of my sports and music and all kinds of other events pretty much got canceled. So I lost a lot of opportunities due to the pandemic, but people were still getting married. So I decided, hey, you know, I should kind of switch up and see if I can get some of these wedding gigs going. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on for the last couple of years, in addition to some of that other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because you obviously are good at it, because I don't think I could do it and think it's therapy, because I would be so frustrated. It's like, what the heck is this crap? You know, it wouldn't be anything that I could ever
I would have to
show anybody. Well, I couldn't do that still. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it takes time. You have to put in the time to develop the skills and get comfortable doing it. But I think once you do get past that point where you are comfortable doing the activity itself, you can kind of get through that frustration, and then your mind is allowed to calm down and relax and be a little more enjoyed.
So when you're doing the live painting, like at an event, and you did something recently or at some point at a baseball game, like, does the adrenaline start pumping when you know when people are watching? Does that?
It is. And I think I have a background of sports. You know, I played sports growing up. I played rugby in college. I've done the Ironman triathlons. So these are like very, so I think there's something maybe about my brain where these kind of high intensity situations actually, they help me focus. So I focus more under those situations. But I'll tell you what, if I'm in, I have an art studio in my spare room here. If I'm in there painting, I have trouble focusing because I can, there's no pressure on me. So I can relax, I don't get as focused when I'm in my studio. And so that's really another career move for me personally was, I don't want to get myself stuck in a situation where I'm like a studio artist spending all day painting alone in my studio. That's just not the kind of guy I am.
Right.
And so it was definitely a conscious move to make sure that, hey, being a professional artist is not easy to do. So if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to put in the work to do it, I want to make sure that I do it my way and I can do the kind of art that I enjoy. And that's really just being out there in the world, capturing cool things going on. I mean, here's a tip for artists, artists who are looking for new ways. How do I get myself out there? How can I find new ways to earn income and get new followers and fans? Well, here's something I did. I request a media pass at events. So you talk about a baseball game. In a couple of weeks, I'll be at the Florida State baseball game on a Sunday afternoon. How did I get that gig? I requested a media pass because they let journalists and they let photographers get special access to events so that they can record the event, whether in the form of photographs or a written article. Well, why can't there be original art done on site at these events? So that's my mindset about, I'm always looking at what's going on, what events are coming up, where can I go and capture some stuff live on canvas and be around people, because that's networking, it's marketing, and it's selling while I'm doing it too.
Well, I was going to say, people are so fascinated when they see an artist working and when they can actually see that you took a blank canvas and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's here. That's now.
That's now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine doing the light painting during a concert. That just blows my mind.
It's like I said, it's a lot of fun. And I think that there's the energy of there's the music and the people, and I'm just moving, and so these paintings aren't super hyper realistic, polished depictions of a live band. They're very loose, they're very energetic and a little bit abstract as well. But I think what makes them interesting is that you can, when you look at them, you're like, yeah, there was a very energetic human being painted this one. I know it, so you can see the energy in these paintings.
I was going to say, I've already determined this from just talking to you just now, is that being a rugby player and the way you like to paint with all the pressure, you're a very calm guy at home, right?
A very what?
A very calm guy at home.
I have, I got a very active mind, and sometimes it's tough to quiet it down. And like I said, I think I actually need some sort of challenge or very high pressure scenario to allow me to just, all right, let's dial it in and get focused here.
What's the quickest you've ever had to do a painting, and what kind of time frame?
There was an event that I did a couple of years ago where I was scheduled to be at a banquet to do a live painting. And I thought that I was just going to kind of be off to the side, just kind of doing a painting while people would kind of come and talk to me. And then when I actually got to the event, they wanted me to do a painting on stage. And they're like, yeah, there's going to be a band playing for an hour, and you're going to be over here on the stage, and you're going to do your painting during this band. And I just happened to bring a canvas that was like twice the size of what I was used to. And so I got a double the size canvas, and then they're telling me I'm on stage and I have 1 hour. Because 1 hour I don't do a lot of like the speed painting, because some of those people are awesome who can do that. And they'll do like an upside down portrait in 5 minutes. that's not something that I'm doing yet. I would like to build up to that. But anyways, it was an hour painting, and it was really big, a lot of pressure. But I guess so. Those situations, it brings it out of me, you know, because if you told me, hey, you have to do the same painting at home in your studio, I would probably spend 3 weeks dilly-dallying on it because I can.
Right. So you finished that painting in an hour?
Yeah, well, I ended up touching it up afterwards. Someone
Right,
who was
but just-
there ended up buying it, and I said, you know what, it needs a little more work.
Yeah.
And that does tend to happen. You know, for example, at a wedding, there's been a couple of weddings that I've done where at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what, I want to take this home and spend a little more time making the bride and groom look a little more accurate, or just kind of clean some things up. And that happens too. Sometimes I don't quite get it done by the time things are over.
That's just a sign of a perfectionist, always wanting to
touch it up,
fine tune everything.
Yeah, it's tough. That's the tough part, is figuring out when it's done.
Right,
you know,
right.
Sometimes you keep working. Oh man, I had it, and then I lost it because I kept working on it. That's one of the tough.
Yeah.
So when you're painting and people are talking to you, can you have a conversation while you're still painting?
Yeah, I can, you know, sometimes I'll pause, but other times I'm still putting paint on there and talking at the same time. I have done a couple of live paintings over Zoom. Actually, I did like a podcast. It was actually a podcast interview, and I actually painted a live portrait of the guy who was interviewing me. So I guess I could have just had my easel here.
Yeah.
I could be painting you guys right now. Maybe
see what you can do in 15 minutes. Yeah.
I'm working on a little sketch right here on a piece of paper.
So cool.
But yeah, it's tough. It definitely it's challenging, and sometimes, because I'm there professionally when I'm doing this. And so the conversations I'm having, they're professional conversations, because these are potential buyers.
Sure.
These are people that I want to network with and things like that. And sometimes it is challenging to be in creative mode where I'm so dialed in on this painting, and then to actually kind of like be in business person or salesperson mode, you know? But again, that's just part of the challenge that makes it a little more fun.
So you're going to be at the bridal show tomorrow?
Sunday.
I will be
On Sunday.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
what are you going to paint? Can you tell us?
You know what? That's a good question. I will be painting there. I will be doing
wait to feel the energy and see what comes out.
You know, I might do a sample like wedding painting, maybe find someone I know and do a painting of them. Or I might, where I'm at in the expo, maybe there's like a nice view and I can do like a live painting of the expo itself, just to kind of demonstrate what I can do. Because the particular thing that I like to do the best as a live painter is to capture the scene. You know, if it's a wedding, hey, let's capture some iconic features of the venue. If it's at a music festival, like what was the weather? If it's an outdoor festival, what was the weather like? Let's capture that sunset. So trying to capture what's around me is what I really like to do the best. And so maybe that's what I'll end up doing on Sunday, just to kind of demonstrate what I can do for the clients.
I think that's great.
You know what he's going to end up capturing?
What?
Those girl cigar smokers.
That's true. We've got Sure Thing Cigars will be there. And we had them on earlier today, and they are talking about women smoking cigars, how much that's growing. And,
really?
So that's been our fascination today. Is like
they're going to be there.
So they'll be there.
Sure they'll be smoking.
I will incorporate some female cigar smokers, and maybe they'll want to buy the painting. But here's the thing, that, you know, just I'm giving out business advice for artists here. So that is how you have to think about live painting is, you know, it's fun to go out and do it. Sometimes I just want to go out and paint and have fun, and that's all there is to it. But other times, you know, when I first started doing it, there were times when I needed to get out and sell some art because I needed to pay rent the next day or something. Right. You know, I got to go out and hustle some paintings. And so then you got to think, okay, what's going on? Where can I go and paint something where there's going to be a lot of people who might want to buy it? You know, right. So here's another example of something I've done is a few years ago, I went to a James Brown tribute show. So guess what? It's full of James Brown fans, hundreds of them, all in this same place. Guess what I did? I did a painting of James Brown at the show, and obviously someone bought it. And so these are, and you can replicate that idea. Me personally, I like going to music venues. I like going to sports events, and weddings are a good, consistent gig to do as well. I really love doing those. But think of so many other hobbies and industries and just niches that artists could do live art for, whether maybe like you're a comic book nerd and you want to go to a Comic Con and do live painting, you might do some sales there. If you're a dog portrait artist, going to dog events, dog shows, things like that, just getting yourself out there in front of your market. Live painting is a really, really, there's a lot of potential, to just get more of a following and make some sales, especially for people who are struggling, because I have to confess that I'm not a big social media guy. I wish I did. I wish I could figure out how to get 1 million followers and sell a ton of paintings just by posting them to Instagram, but I don't do as well with that. But what I can do is I can get out into the real world and do art in front of people's faces, in front of flesh and blood human beings. And that's what works for me.
And they post it.
Yeah,
and
that's
excited.
true.
Well,
I'm so excited to see what he's going to do that day.
Well,
lots of pressure now.
She'll be texting you every 30 minutes. What are you thinking? What are you doing? No.
Yeah.
Another great place for live painters that I've thought about lately is grand openings, because
But that's fast.
well, it is fast, but he could fine tune or touch it up later.
Yeah.
But what better to have than a piece of art commemorating your grand opening?
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty cool. But it is a quick
another good
process.
Just hook up with your local chamber and follow them around. And go to all their grand openings and ribbon
That's really
cuttings,
true,
business after hours, all their kind of things. That would, I think at a ribbon cutting grand opening, they'd love to have that. They get a ribbon with their name on it, but to have a painting.
Well, it stays in their office. Yeah, it's great.
It's a great idea.
I have done a grand opening, but I didn't incorporate a ribbon cutting into the painting. But for another one, that's another good idea to pitch out there. So
that is a good idea.
All right, we're going to send you a bill for that idea. So
okay.
you'll receive our invoice. We want a royalty is what we want. For everyone you do, we want 5%.
Okay. What about the ideas I'm providing here today?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be great. So I know on Instagram, we have some mutual friends in Northwest Arkansas. So you were in Missouri for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm from Missouri, and I ended up living there. I ended up going back there in 2020 until a couple months ago, and I came back to Tallahassee. Okay. So I spent the last couple years in Missouri.
All right, I'm going to look real quick while we're...
What did you do before you decided this is your world? This is what your passion is? Before you started art, what did you do?
I've been a little all over the place. I have a master's degree in philosophy, and I was originally wanted to be a professor. So I was going to get a PhD and be a philosophy professor. But along the way, I kind of got distracted. I guess I'm not really cut out for like the academic career, I guess. So I kind of just started getting distracted. I worked in fitness for a while. And so for a lot of the times that I was an artist, I worked as a fitness coach at Orange Theory. I'm sure you're familiar with Orange Theory Fitness, very popular group fitness. I loved it. It was such a fun job. And I was balancing that with art. And it was actually a really good arrangement, actually. And so I've usually always had another career, another job in addition to art. Because one of the things that I learned was when the pandemic hit, I did lose a lot of my fitness job, kind of got shut down for a while. And so I was relying on doing art full time. I spent way too much time in the studio alone, during that year or so. And it really just wasn't good. So I'm actually perfectly happy really focusing on doing live art on the weekends and having something else going on during the week, and so that's something I'm kind of working on, getting something new to kind of fill in that gap of something to do during the week, a reason to get out of the house and take a shower and go out, leave the house and go be around people. We need that. I think I need that.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Well, so what has been your biggest challenge with live painting? What do you think the biggest challenge has been as far as like location, environment, or whatever?
The biggest challenge live painting is getting in touch with the right people, I think.
Okay.
Because personally, I have a big vision for the potential of what live art can do for my career, but also in general, like think of all the potential places where live art could be appropriate. I've been to some college sports games. I've been to some local music festivals and concert venues, but there are larger scale versions of all that. We had the Super Bowl last week. There's the Olympics. There are massive concert venues where there are big name shows happening every day. And how much of these things are being captured in the form of an original painting? How often do you see a painter at a really cool event, like capturing it? And I have like a unlimited aspiration for the kinds of places that I ultimately want to be and the places that I want to do live art. And the challenge is always, how do you talk to the right person, the right decision maker, who's going to give it some thought? Because not everyone is looking for live painters. There's not like a budget set aside to hire a live painter for things. And so you really do need to make sure that you get someone's attention and that they can actually kind of see what you're talking about of what is live art, because not everybody even gets it, And so just sending an email and just having some social media posts and waiting for someone to see your social media posts isn't usually enough. I'm more of a guy who, like, I want to make calls. I want to stop by. If I'm in town, I'm going to go show up and shake your hand and try to talk to the right person that's going to get me access to the places that I want to be to paint.
I think your biggest thing is word of mouth. You're out there doing it, and then everybody's going to start talking about it. That's how I would promote you. I'd get you and put you somewhere.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's similar to like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
If you're starting out as a stand-up comedian, you kind of have to go out and do your 5 minutes or 10-minute sets for free. You're doing a lot. You're going out, you're doing a lot of free work over and over and over until you get to the point where maybe people start to like you, and then you'll start getting paid gigs and things grow from there. And I think the same thing with me is, especially if I'm in a new city, where I don't have a reputation, hey, I just need to get out there, just go out, show up places, paint, get people to see it. And then eventually people are like, hey, there's that guy. He's always out. Like, that's that same guy. We keep seeing him. He's always at like these places painting and stuff. And then it builds from there.
Yeah, I think so.
So bucket list of places to do a live painting. Where's your top?
Oh man, I want to say these out loud. One thing that I would like to do, like I said, I've been to a couple Florida State games, but I haven't been to a football game. I know football is the big thing. Yeah. So I would love to be in that stadium this fall at a Florida State football game, preferably on one where like ESPN's going to be there and they can
right.
on national TV.
Be like, look at this.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
And there are, a lot of bands. I love painting bands, and there's some of my all-time favorite bands that I would like to paint. I'm kind of a metalhead, so I listen to a lot of heavy metal music. And there's a few festivals going on this year with some of my favorite bands will be there. And that's something I'm working on behind the scenes, trying to get in touch with the right people from these festivals to see, hey, why wouldn't you want some guy there doing a painting of these headliner bands at your festival? So those are some shorter term, like this year, that I'm kind of these like bigger goals that I'm working on.
Well, we do have Gulf Coast Jam
I was
here.
Gonna say.
Coming to
I saw that. I did see about that. Maybe we'll have to talk about that.
They have a great
We might
lineup.
know
Yeah.
the decision makers.
Okay.
We'll hook you up.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Good deal.
Great.
Well, now I think that would be a good and
That would be
yeah,
awesome.
it would be.
Mm-hmm.
So so there's so many opportunities that, because I've always thought of live painters of being a wedding planner, an event planner, mainly weddings. And then I did think about the grand opening because it's something they can keep and
Absolutely.
retain and have in their office. But you've taken it to a whole different level that I didn't think of, like with sporting events, concerts, that type thing.
You know those bands want that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And hey, I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm the pioneer. There are, I didn't mention this when I was in Denver. The first few times I ever even did it, it was at a nightclub where there were all these paintings of bands on the walls at this place. All these really energetic, abstract musician paintings. And I realized that these paintings on the wall at this venue were done live by some guys who've been doing it longer than I have. So there are some people who are pioneers in this kind of newer direction of live painting, who are taking it beyond weddings, beyond, corporate parties, and going to big sports events, big music events. So there are a handful of really successful, really accomplished live painters out there. But I definitely have to emphasize, and this again, it's something that artists who are trying to think of new ways to do business, there's not a lot of live painters out there. And you have to realize how many opportunities there really are. And I say that because I think there's plenty of opportunity to go around. So I'm not, trying to hide any secrets from anybody.
That's true. Yeah. Well, Matt, I appreciate you being with us. I can't wait to meet you Sunday. I can't believe 30 minutes has already gone by so quickly. But
wow. Yeah, it was good. It was good talking to you guys.
Yeah. So just tell everybody watching and listening how they can get in touch with you, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's behind you there. So
okay, it's behind us. Okay, yeah. Okay.
MatthewMillerArt.com is my website, and Miller.art.experience on Instagram. Matt Miller Art Experience on Instagram. Just look for it. MatthewMillerArt.com. And here's the thing: if you're interested and you got an idea for a live painting, get in contact with me. Or if you're another artist and you're intrigued by what I do and you want some tips or just want to talk to another artist about this sort of thing, I would love to hear from anybody who would like to get in contact with me.
All right. Well, thank you. Anything you want to say, Shannon?
No, I can't wait for Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Well, again, thank you so much. And thank you for watching and listening today on Luxe Life Discovered. We will see you next time.
Check out Luxe Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Luxe Life Discovered.